Thank you. Yes, so growing old gracefully, how to stay fit as a mature customer. Term mature is what Elsevier is calling us. I generally call us old, because we are. But it's very nice, we'll be mature in this context. And growing old gracefully is, in fact, more a cautionary tale of what not to do. This is a don't do as we did kind of story. Yes, I'm a system manager at Aarhus University, Denmark. As most of you know, Denmark was the original country for Pure, so we have a long tradition for Pure here or there. I've been the system manager for 18 months now, so I don't have that long history, which on some levels is good, sometimes less so. I have 3 major points to my presentation today. First, I will address what is the problem of growing old. Why is it even a problem? Then I will address how the problem, the condition, came to be. And as the last point, how to fix it. Well, how to fix the problem, how to stay fit or get fit. Here's the problem. And I'm not allowed to move. That's over there, that's us. That's our Pure. Yeah. I kind of like to think of our Pure as this elderly, kind lady, slightly overweight, still functional, walks with a cane, but not as fit as she could have been. This is what we want to look like. We don't deny our age, but we want to stay fit. We want to be lean, we want to be agile, you know all those buzzwords, and to be strong. But it's difficult to stay strong. And already I'll give you a heads up, it's very boring cure. Just as when you want to avoid getting overweight and out of shape, the cure is monitor your intake. Don't eat too much. Don't eat too much bad data. And work out, okay? So that's all for today. Thank you very much. I'll give you some background on our Pure, just so you understand the context. We've had Pure for 20 years, more or less. We are a centralized Pure team of 4.8 full-time employees. We now use the Pure portal, have a layer of our own websites on top of the portal, based on Pure data as well. Been hosted by Elsevier since last summer. We import from Scopus and PubMed the publications. We use available updates, and we get external organizations from Scival, and we export to ORCID. I've also given you a screen dump of the editorial overview, so you can see the modules that are active in our Pure. This is just a setting. Okay, so here's our Pure in numbers. And our university, I think, so internationally speaking, we're mid-sized, not very big, but a mid-sized university that has had Pure for 20 years becomes a very, very large Pure customer. Okay, so in numbers, in terms of master data, we have, or had at the last count, more than 400,000 external persons. We currently have 90,000 external organizations. A year ago, before we started a major cleanup project, we had 125,000 external organizations, and we still have another 60,000 to approve or delete. We have more than 60,000 internal persons. This is something that will happen to you over time. So that's the employees that we've always had over the 20 years. So compared to 14,000 users, that's the current employees. But everybody stays in the system. Once you get into Pure, you never leave. It goes for everything. It gets into Pure, and it doesn't leave unless you really actively remove. 40,000 journals, still need to approve half of them. 3,000 internal organizations, that's a lot. Yeah, I think maybe 400 or so are active. So that's our entire organizational history. Every time I validate a publication and I start typing in the affiliation, Department of Clinical Medicine, I get 150 hits. So that's what happens when you get big. That's why you need to stay fit, because this happens over time. Currently, there's no system-based solution for this. So all we can do is to stay on top of our data. As for research output or content, almost 400,000 research output. We have a yearly production of 14,000, and we still have more than 40,000 publications to validate. Most of them are before 2020. I don't know what they did back in the day, but something else, because the world was different. So this is not a blame game. This is not about saying, what did my predecessors do, or what didn't they do? It was a different world, different data, different requirements. This is the state of affairs. And 250,000 activities and a lot of other content. And sort of a bit of curiosity, because when it comes to data, system data, your internal data is important as well. We have 1,500 job titles. 6 months ago, we had 7,500 in the classification scheme, and then it broke down. I don't know if you heard that the update that's coming today is going to introduce a limit on number of items in classification schemes. We may be the reason for that, I'm not sure. But cleaning up in classification schemes, job titles. So we can't remove job titles because someone has used. The job title is not in the system unless someone has used it. And I don't have the tools to sort them. I cannot bulk manage and delete. So I've created loads of reports. I actually do like the new reporting module. It does a lot of very good stuff in this respect, and I'll be happy to share reports on that. But it also requires a lot of Excel work after that, and then loads of clicks. We used to have more than 2,000 person zinc errors every day. It's warnings. It's not errors, warnings. Some of them minor, insignificant, something about uppercase, lowercase letters, who cares? But hiding in these 2,000 warnings were the serious ones. The ones, the users that were not created, the people who did not get their website because of the warning, and we couldn't find them. That's cleared up now. Audience vote, yes, get out your mobile phones. We were told it has to be interactive or the audience gets bored really quickly. So, first question here, do you feel good about your data quality in Pure? Let's see if it works, the polling. Oh, that's very good. One vote. Let's see. Well, we have 2 votes so far. That's very good. You're being very diligent students. I'm glad to see it. Yeah, I suspect as much. We'll see if it gets us anywhere at all. Didn't. Nah. Anyway, each of you. Okay, here is it. Okay, I can see we're the only ones who had problems with data quality. Yeah, that's good. That's a new customer, yeah. They're 6 months down the lane. This is a major problem that we all have to help each other individually and together with Elsevier. They have to help us too, give us the tools to get good data quality. Okay, another poll, now that your phones are out. How many external organizations do you have? external organizations are usually the default example of bad data quality. It's also, at least in Denmark, that's what everybody wants to know about. They want to know about cooperation, collaboration, who do you work with? And when we started cleaning up our external organizations, I typed in our pure type University of Copenhagen. I got 900 results. That's without the typos. Okay? So that's what you get from bad data quality. Yeah, let's see if it manages. Okay, so quite a few. You have more than 100,000. I'm guessing some of the major Danish customers as well, definitely. And I heard some rumors about the Netherlands as well. Yeah. But that's symptomatic. It's the older customers. Again, like I said, once something gets into Pure, it doesn't get out, so you get more all the time. Okay, and what's the problem of bad data? Obviously, there are many problems. So you get bad reporting. So it depends. I'm not even sure the history behind Pure, that originally the purpose of Pure was showcasing, was to display your research output on websites. That was very new, fancy stuff 20 years ago. But now we want to be able to report as well. So we want to serve these two purposes. We want to be able to showcase and report. We also want to do research on research. That's the meta-research. We can't do that on bad data. Bad data gives you bad display. Even good data gives you bad display. When you don't have the proper tools in Pure, then it's very difficult. That's something we have been struggling with and still do. It also means when your external organizations are bad, then the validation process takes forever because you get very bad matching, especially when you import. I should have said, in our case at Aarhus, it's actually it's the researcher's own responsibility that everything's in Pure, but we import most of the things. So my estimate is that we import maybe 75%, but we're general university, so we've got arts and humanities, business, social sciences. They have to manually enter a lot as well. But when you've seen a PubMed import with affiliations, and I don't know, 500 authors, and they all share the same affiliation because it's this massive organization filled with 200 different universities. That's one of the problems. Okay, that's our internal processes, but eventually this could potentially lead to lack of funding or unfair distribution of funding. That varies greatly across countries, how funding, how it's distributed, and depends on whether it's from government funds, etc. But that could potentially be the consequence of bad data. And how it happens, it's data accumulation. You may think that data grows in a linear fashion, but it's not, it's exponential. So you get more and more and more and more, and data is not static, it's dynamic. You're unable, or we're unable to control the data input. Elsevier is very keen to give us new data, new sources. Here you can have this, new fields. Anybody remember the funding? Oh, yeah. And we want it too, because it is nice. The universities want it. They want to be able to report on everything. Who doesn't? We all want data. Nobody wants to get rid of data. Nobody wants to curate data. We cannot control the input. That's a major problem. Purpose changes. We may be subjected to new legal requirements, audits, etc. That all of a sudden we need to do something else. We may get changes in integration. If you want to, I don't know, your university gets a new HR system, all of a sudden you get 2,000 new job titles you weren't expecting. Organizational changes. I think a lot of our problems with the bad data happened when the university absorbed the business university in Aarhus. And they had their own Pure, and then their Pure was absorbed into ours. And I wasn't there at the time, but I can see that caused a lot of problems. Of course it did. But these things happen. And internal organizations change all the time. You might want to activate new modules in Pure. We've been discussing data sets. Some people don't have activities yet and they want activities. I recommend using activities, but by God, be careful. Because activities is the major source of bad organizational data. But they are important. So, what do? You clean up, and you clean up every single day. You never let go. And you don't know what kind of data will be important tomorrow, so you have to clean up essentially everything. Of course, you have to prioritize. Can't do everything at once. Some data is more important than others, but you have to start working on it if you're not doing it already. Then also get a deletion policy, data deletion. I'm going to do a poll on that one about who actually has a deletion policy. That's one of the major milestones. We've had our first deletion policies approved now and have started deleting some content in Pure for, I believe, the first time in 20 years. Now, I have to, of course, keep an eye on tomorrow's needs, be here, talk to everybody, find out what's going on so you know what they're going to be asking of you tomorrow, and you keep in mind both reporting and data display. In principle, they're not opposites, but in reality, they can be. And eat healthy. So try to control all the data sources that you can. The HR system. Also consider, the last talk I heard was about from Groningen and who registers publications, and if you're considering that process, you might feel, we don't have the resources to register for the researchers, but maybe that is time well spent, because you are a lot better at it than they are. And if they do it, then they have to spend time, and then afterwards you have to clean up after them. So at least that's worth considering. You also should establish good processes, and you have to document them. Data sanitation is boring, it's not sexy, it doesn't give you immediate results, so when there are cuts, it's one of the first things that you don't do, because you have to validate what gets in. That's what you have to do immediately. But this has to be done as well. So you have to document what happens if you let it go. That's a way to keep resources in your department, because it is important. Otherwise, university management can't get the reports that they need. Our major cleanup project was external organizations. We started it 12 months ago. We have grown wiser during those 12 months. We started out deciding the level we want to keep. So for external organizations, we add the type, the country, and we use umbrella organizations. I don't know if you guys use it, so sort of if you have a lot of smaller organizations, it's nice to pool them into larger ones, and what they should be depends on your areas. For instance, we have umbrella organizations such as Danish church. That makes sense because each individual church might have 1, 2, 3 research output associated to it. If you pool them together, you reduce the amount of external organizations, and they also get a chance to show up in reporting. So Department of Theology drawing a report on the cooperation partners, they will actually see how often they cooperate with churches. So that's a nice one. We get them for primary school, kindergarten, etc. So obviously not the big ones, and you can choose for yourselves which ones make sense, but that has helped us tremendously. We use a reporting module a lot to create these filters and how to prioritize. Obviously, we find that the most recently used organizations should be better than the older ones. We have different processes for what we do to historical data and to future data. We know that we're quite rough on old data. And we know that we have lost detail by pooling together external organizations, particularly from activities. So PhD assessment committees. I don't know how many thousands of organizations we've had of those. And they've all been pulled into PhD assessment committee. Full stop. Going forward, we will try to actually edit them and say PhD assessment committee at the University of Uppsala or wherever it was. But historically, we can't do that. Other solutions. Some of these real, some of them exist only in our dreams. We need help from Elsevier getting cleanup jobs. Bulk management. We already have some very good ones, but we need so many more, and we are happy to show you exactly what it is we need. We also need to be able to control data input, so we want to get rid of mandatory external organizations and activities. That is a major problem for us. Oh, and the import of old publications. Do you know that feeling? So every day when I open my Pure, I check the person sync, see if everything's running smoothly, and I see how many new external organizations did I get during the night. When I was going to the airport the other day, I got 150 new ones, and I was like, no. And that's a new guy in computer science. He just imported 140 previous publications. They're not even from our university. They're not our publications, we don't want them, but they fill us with bad data, and we have to take care of it. So we need tools to handle that as well. And we get that a lot, and that's essentially, sometimes Pure is drowning in its own success. The more people use it, and we want them to showcase their old publications. It looks good, but it's a lot of work, okay? We also dream of being able to unlink content, because everything is linked in Pure, and that's the great strength of Pure, that everything is related, but it also makes it impossible to delete in other ways than click by click by click by click. Always said bulk management. I could also dream, I don't know, Pure internal data archive, somehow, some way to make old internal organizations and people invisible. I don't want them out, but why do they keep popping up? I'm sure some of you other old customers, you know that feeling as well. Another idea is sandboxing of some sort of new data that's not been approved. So don't make it, I know it's complex, but I definitely feel it's something that should be taken care of. And what you can't see at the bottom here, it says create or consider a national or regional or local shared database. In Denmark, all universities and educational institutions have Pure. We all have separate instances, and we all use the same data. We import from Scopus and other sources, and we all curate it manually. And then we all pull together our data, put it into a shared national database, and they deduplicate it. And every process, every step gives worse data. So consider if you are able to work with that, you really should. And last, do you have a data deletion policy? I'll give you some insights on our deletion policy. What we do is when people have left the universities, when they've been away from our university for 5 years, then we start deleting their content. Not internal publications, but everything else. External publications, activities, etc. After a grace period of 5 years. So we find that's quite safe, and it does free up some space. So what I'm seeing here is definitely also an idea for some of you to go back and work on, because if you haven't already, that will help you. And that's it. That's it from me. Thank you. I'm happy to talk to you.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Anne. Excellent session. All right, so it's the time for questions. Please.
So first, great talk, Anne. I loved it. And a quick little plug, I'm going to be talking on a similar theme about what not to do, mistakes that we made later this afternoon, but from a slightly more technical angle. But so about that, I wanted to ask about the umbrella organizations. So are you using just the parent-child relationship for organizations in Pure for that, or is there another feature maybe that I'm unaware of that you use to do that?
And we actually did consider that, but we considered it too time-consuming, at least for historical data. So when we make the umbrella organizations, we actually made Danish church, and then we said manage duplicates, and then we searched church with all the spelling variants we could find and just put everything into it. Because obviously it would be better to keep it as a parent organization, and I think going forward that's maybe a way we might go, because that way we could get the same effect and still maintain the level of detail of getting the specific organization afterwards.
Interesting. So we have done something similar with parent organizations, but the problem we had with that was that every time it was a manual decision about which organizations to combine, into an organization that exists only in Pure. And so because we were manually making all those decisions, that means we can't automatically sync our organizations with Pure.
Yeah.
So that's been one of the big problems for us.
Yeah, I think we're able to handle it currently with the current processes, but it will obviously make this isn't for the major organizations that we do synchronize. So this is for the smaller organizations anyway that don't have Scopus ID, etc., that we could get in. I should say, Scopus IDs, we rely heavily on those. We use those, always use Scopus IDs, and we are going to use raw IDs as well. That's the next step. If anyone is wondering, yeah.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. I think we need to finish due to the time limit. So thank you very much.
Thank you.